From the sheriff's office. The sheriff says a car club blocked the road off to street race. A large group surrounded the truck and trailer, punching, kicking, and hitting it. The sheriff says crews fired one shot, hitting the couple. Deputies say this video and other evidence led them to connect crews to the shooting.
There's a note that we investigate, and that note puts our suspect in the place where we have established probable cause for his arrest.
Along with crews, 2 other people were arrested for aggravated rioting, 19-year-old Robert Moya and 22-year-old Savoyak Wood. Sheriff Marcino says more arrests will be made. As for the couple, their grandson tells me his grandma is out of the hospital and his grandfather is still in the hospital recovering. And as the sheriff mentioned, and in the video you saw, he says that the group was there to street race. And when I was talking to neighbors yesterday in Lehigh Acres, they said that they want this issue addressed. Now, coming up at Fox 4 at 6, I'll explain what Sheriff Carmine Marcino is doing to address this problem, and it's an issue that he is tackling right now. Reporting live at the Juvenile Justice Center, Caitlin Knapp, Fox 4.
And we'll see you at 6. Also in Fort Myers, police released new details about the shooting that happened at the Portofino Cove apartment complex on Sunday morning. That suspect tonight still not arrested, but those new details are coming from a new report released today. So that report says around 3:30 in the morning on Sunday, that unnamed suspect shot and killed a man and seriously injured a woman at the apartment complex. Police have now identified the suspect as the woman's boyfriend. Now, they say the suspect was driving a stolen Nissan Titan truck, which was later found with no one in it. Police say the situation is an isolated incident, and despite not having a suspect in custody tonight, they say there is no danger to the public at this time, but that investigation continues. Also turning now to a developing story out of Collier County.
Yeah, the 71-year-old man, Collier County deputies say, killed his wife in their Golden Gate Estates home on Thursday, did not show up for his first court appearance.
Yeah, and the case's judge did not grant the suspect, Racine Raphael, any bond. So Fox 4's Brianna Brownlee tells us live from the Collier County Courthouse today that he actually waived appearance for medical reasons today.
Yes, in addition to medical issues, Racine Raphael, who is in custody for killing his wife, also does not have an attorney. Now, very limited details are being out at this time. However, this is what we discovered today. Now, the investigators think the murder happened between March 14th and 16th. That was days after witnesses reported seeing Raphael fight with his son at a family gathering. On March 16th, his wife was found dead in the laundry room. Investigators say he hit her in the head multiple times with a tire iron and killed her. A coroner's report says she died from blunt force trauma. Now, there is a letter that describes the fight between Raphael and his son, and coming up tonight at 6, we will walk you through what was written. Live from the Collier County Courthouse, Brianna Brownlee, Fox 4.
Thank you so much. We have a devastating update from the family of a 12-year-old boy hit by a car over the weekend.
Yeah, I've been in contact with the family since yesterday, and Fox 4 was the first to tell you last night that the family says 12-year-old Lucas Ralston was declared legally brain dead last night, but they now say he has passed away peacefully around 4 o'clock this morning. The community is now rallying around this family as Lucas's GoFundMe page, as you see here, has now exceeded the goal within 1 day of being created. Troopers say Lucas was hit crossing Lee Boulevard in Lehigh Acres late Friday night. His family did wanting to make clear that Lucas is nonverbal and was autistic, and he had wandered away from his home when he was hit. They were hoping to donate his organs this morning to save other lives, but again, he unfortunately passed away peacefully before they could.
We have breaking news into our newsroom right now. Florida Fish and Wildlife say they have recovered a body from the Caloosahatchee River from over the weekend.
Now, Fox 4 has not confirmed yet if this is the body of that boater who did go missing over the weekend, but we do know that search was on. The family was in town as well. That information just coming into our newsroom literally within minutes. Stick with us right here as we get more details.
Los Angeles school workers are on a 3-day strike starting today, and that starts the news feed. LA is the nation's second largest school district, and the strike cancels classes for more than 500,000 students after last-minute negotiations, including new raise offers, failed. Well, home prices fell in February. A National Association of Realtors report today shows the median price of a home last month was down 0.2% from February of last year. The drop ends more than a decade of year-over-year increases. Foot Locker is downsizing. The company announced plans to close about 400 of its stores by 2026. Foot Locker says it's looking toward the future. It wants to reimagine its brand and become more relevant to younger shoppers, especially sneakerheads.
Well, there is a new mayor on Sanibel. Now, during this morning's meeting, City Council, Richard Johnson took his oath of office. He and former Mayor Holly Smith actually just switched places. He was the vice mayor. Now, Holly Smith will serve as vice mayor. This is until the next election. Both of them were actually reelected back to town council at a special election at the beginning of this month. Fox 4 was there as the new council now discussed the rebuilding progress on Sanibel Island and what it's made since Hurricane Ian. We'll take a look. There's a new rule that was actually put in place today, allowing people to work on construction projects for longer hours on Sanibel. Previously, you could only work from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. But today, the council asked the city manager to sign an executive order extending this by 2 hours. So you will now be able to get work done on your home and businesses until 7 p.m. each night. It does work with daylight savings time. People living on the island say they are willing to live with the noise for a little bit longer in the day if that does mean that rebuilding moves faster.
It's better for us too because easy on and easy off. As you can see, the toll booths, there's only one in and out, and with being able to get the trucks from here to a landfill or something like that, it's a distance. So the earlier we can stay and the later we can stay, it helps us.
In today's meeting, they also talked about a rental ordinance that would allow people who live on the island first choice on repaired or reconstruction housing units managed by the city. So no decision was made on that one. A first hearing for that rental ordinance will happen on April 12th.
Lee County commissioners met today as well to talk about the future of landscape changes on Fort Myers Beach. County commissioners finalized a contract to upgrade landscaping at the town's entrance. So a new enlarged roundabout is also in the works there too. Leaders discussed pedestrian safety, including brighter lights and traffic signal upgrades, as well as the project's plan for San Carlos Boulevard. So that project will go from North Crescent Street and run north of Hurricane Pass Bridge. Well, the St. James City Church celebrated the next phase in a very long recovery process.
Yeah, our Fox 4's Chris Earl is actually live at the church tonight to tell us how the congregation was finally able to return as we are now approaching 6 months after Ian.
And Miami Beach officials changing their minds about putting spring break on lockdown, why some people say that is a safety risk that they do not want to take.
And it's a busy Tuesday here at Fox 4. We are keeping an eye on Punta Gorda right now as police are still asking for you to avoid the downtown area. Fox 4 is working to bring you more information as they say there is an incident happening right now. We don't know what that is, but it's happening on US 41. Stick with us. All right, it's spring break and in Miami, and now Miami Beach officials say they are not going to enforce a curfew. This after they voted in support of doing so earlier this week.
After 2 deadly shootings caused chaos over the weekend.
So city officials did pass a measure, though, ordering liquor stores to close early. The city also imposed a midnight curfew Sunday after separate shootings left 2 people dead, and then police were met with large unruly crowds. But now Miami Beach Mayor Dan Gelber says that he is not sure any city is truly prepared to handle spring breakers.
Break is just not something that almost any city in Florida has wanted. Young, really unruly, hard to control, people coming into your city. In our case, tens of thousands in a small area.
Yeah, the area is now preparing to host a popular music festival in the coming days, which is fueling more safety concerns. Tens of thousands of music fans are expected to come into the area for the event. Michelle?
Surveillance video shows a group of sheriff's deputies and other personnel at a Virginia mental hospital forcibly pinning Ivo Ochieno to the floor before his death. And we want to warn you, this video is hard to watch. We're only showing the first part of the video when Ochieno is being brought into the room in handcuffs. His death on March 6th while being admitted to the hospital has led to second-degree murder charges against 7 deputies and 3 hospital workers. He was taken to the hospital after spending multiple days in law enforcement custody. The death of Tyree Nichols is putting police reform back in the spotlight, and the topic was widely examined during the summer of 2020 when the murder of George Floyd spurred social justice protests across the country. Since then, several cities have rethought their police policies, and now some colleges are doing the same.
We're very focused on making sure our community is safe through collaboration and partnership. And we want to make sure that as our officers or as students are in crisis or need help, that the appropriate response is being referred to that incident.
Denise Woods is the Associate Vice Chancellor for Health, Well-Being, and Safety at the University of California, Riverside. The college is changing its approach to campus safety by reducing police presence at the school. They're now implementing unarmed campus safety responders and adding mental health crisis counselors. The move was done in part by taking funding from campus police and reallocating the money to support the new positions.
Our campus police have been great partners. They continue to be. Many of them are UCR alumni. So they understand and they have deep ties to our Riverside community, our campus community. But what we're really trying to do is, again, make sure that we're not triggering the situation further, that we have folks that are more experts around mental health and helping to understand the signs of distress in a student.
And the university's efforts to decrease the number of police responses on campus might actually be life-saving for students experiencing a mental health crisis. According to one study, people with untreated mental illness are 16 times more likely to be killed by law enforcement. The DEA has now issued an alert warning the public about the widespread threat of xylazine. It's used by veterinarians as a tranquilizer and has been showing up in fentanyl. The DEA says it has seized this mixture in 48 out of 50 states. Xylazine is not approved for humans and can have serious side effects. It also does not respond to the overdose reversal drug naloxone.
It's a beautiful evening once again here in Southwest Florida as we give you a live look overlooking the Caloosahatchee River in downtown Fort Myers.
And you don't see a single cloud in sight, but you did feel those cooler temperatures once again today as we bring in meteorologist Lauren Petrelli. But Lauren, a warm-up is on the way, so we're excited about that.
Yeah, we definitely already felt the signs of the warm-up. So this afternoon we woke up, it was still very chilly. Some of us still needed the jacket, and through the afternoon shed that jacket right off as temperatures were in the low 80s. In fact, right now our temperatures are still warmer than where we were about 24 hours ago, ranging anywhere between about 6 to 9 degrees warmer compared to this time yesterday. So our sensors in LaBelle and Immokalee are out. No, it was not 120 something degrees there, but our highs for the rest of Southwest Florida did cap out in the upper 70s, low 80s. In fact, Fort Myers saw a high of 84 degrees. That's almost 9 to 10 degrees warmer compared to yesterday's high. A high of 78 in Punta Gorda and 80 down in Naples. As we head into the overnight hours, things are going to cool off. It will feel great outside. Temperatures right around 10 o'clock going to be in the upper 60s. This is going to be under mostly clear skies, and then overnight lows eventually really falling into the low 60s. Clouds and radar also sweeping across nice and clear. We're not tracking any rain, and that is because high pressure is the dominant weather factor for the next couple of days, not just tonight, but as we fast forward through the models, high pressure going to slide across the Carolinas, Virginia, out to the Atlantic. And then we do have our next cold front that tries to push through. This is going to be Friday into the weekend, but high pressure really is going to block that. And we're not looking at any significant rainfall from now all the way until the end of the weekend. Even as we fast forward all of the models right here, you could see Fort Myers not picking up anything with the GFS model, and a lot of the significant measurable rainfall staying well to the north of really the entire state. So with high pressure in place, we are going to be sunny, warm, and hot the next several days. We're forecasting a high in the upper 80s for Wednesday, with temperatures climbing into the low 90s by the weekend and into your next work week. Average high this time of the year is supposed to be 82 degrees, so we are well above that. So as you wake up tomorrow morning, temperatures still going to be comfortable in the mid 50s to the low 60s. As we head into tomorrow afternoon, temperatures going to be even warmer in the upper 80s. If you wanted to cool down by getting out on the boat, not a bad idea. We have no advisories. Seas 2 feet or less, and a light chop on your inland waters. Tonight really going to feel fantastic. Tomorrow going to be the warm one. Thursday, sunny and hot. We could potentially see record-breaking heat. Friday, we're going to start to notice the humidity pick up as that front gets closer to us. And then on Saturday, sunny and windy with high of 89, low 90s as we wrap up your weekend. Time right now is 5:20, and you are watching Fox 4 News at 5.
Dozens of Americans are being wrongfully detained in other countries. That's according to the James Foley Foundation, which tracks these cases. WNBA star Brittany Griner's imprisonment in Russia last year highlighted the challenges that these Americans face in coming home when there's debate about their alleged crime and punishment. Maya Rodriguez introduces us to one family in the middle of that struggle.
For the families of Americans who are held hostage overseas, getting attention on their cases can sometimes be an uphill battle. Now, some are getting help from an unexpected group, Gen Z college students. The Shargi family says every day without Imad Shargi adds to the pain.
It's horrific. It's maddening. It's beyond anything that I could ever imagine.
He's an innocent American that is being used as a pawn in a game that's not his to play.
Imad is an American citizen and businessman. 5 years ago, he traveled to Iran to visit family. He never returned. Iranian authorities detained him, and he remains in prison there.
We're assuming that it is the same as the other Americans who are being held there, which is cooperating with a hostile enemy, which in this case is the Iranians consider the United States.
The U.S. does not have diplomatic relations with Iran. For several years, the family stayed quiet about Imad's imprisonment, afraid of putting him in danger overseas. But then the Iranian government publicized the case.
Since then, we've been very public and have been working very closely with the State Department. Imad was designated by the State Department as wrongfully detained, which is an official designation.
But they and the other families want more. A meeting at the White House with President Biden.
I know he's aware of our situation, but I don't think he knows how dire it is, how worried we all are.
Now they're getting some unexpected help.
We believe storytelling can change the world.
American University professor Pallavi Kumar leads a class called SOC3, described as an integrated communications agency, with students majoring in film, journalism, and public relations.
We like to say it's powered by Gen Z, because who better to tell stories than Gen Z? They are digital natives. They've never grown up in a world where you don't have an iPhone.
Together, they're taking on the cause of Bring Our Families Home, a campaign to bring wrongfully detained Americans back to the U.S. They recently met with the Shargi family.
At the end of the day, we just want to ensure that their story is heard.
We're trying to think about different strategies to get public attention to this cause so that eventually, with enough attention, it can get to Biden himself.
On this day, that includes making social media videos to let people know about the family's plight.
As Gen Z, we kind of have this niche understanding of how TikTok can be used to amplify movements.
This is an example where we can drive public attention in a way that will actually result in real material change.
The Shargi family says the students' efforts mean so much.
It just shows how big people's hearts are and how amazing these students are, that they want to get involved and help us is incredible.
I'm touched by it, that this is a cause that has moved them to put their time and efforts into it. I think this campaign has brought families like ours out of the shadows.
And they hope closer to the day when their loved one comes home. Maya Rodriguez, Scripps News, Washington.
I'm Chris Earl, live in St. James City inside of this church parking lot where since Hurricane Ian, it has served so many more roles than just being a church parking lot. Now the doors are finally back open. A look at the journey to get First Baptist Church back with people inside.
Live from Southwest Florida, you're watching Fox 4 News at 5.
Yeah, it's been a busy Fox 4 News at 5. A lot of stories breaking and developing. This one, we want to take you to Charlotte County. The Punta Gorda Police Department says deputies and officers are handling what they're calling an incident right now on US 41, Tamiami Trail North, right near the intersection of East Olympia Avenue, and really is causing a mess downtown.
Right, and we already see a lot of traffic in this area, a lot of people using those bridges to get to the Port Charlotte side of Charlotte County. So you can see on this map the entire intersection is blocked off with traffic in both directions. A lot of red on your screen right now, of course, indicating a lot of traffic. So deputies are saying please avoid this downtown area as much as possible. They are anticipating these traffic delays to continue for a while. They're asking you to use I-75 instead. We do know that we are expecting to hear from law enforcement within the next hour. They are setting up to bring us live updates, and when those updates come into our newsroom, we'll bring them to you here on air as well. Well, new updates from Lee County. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission says the body they recovered from the Caloosahatchee River, which we just brought to you as breaking news maybe about 10 minutes ago, they've confirmed that that is 40-year-old Pedro Pablo Ramirez.
Now, if you remember, they have been searching for him since Sunday at about 4:30 when their 16-foot boat had capsized in the Caloosahatchee River. We know the family was in town as well, desperately looking for the search, family from both Miami and Orlando. But as Shari just said, FWC just confirming that that body that was recovered is that of 40-year-old Pablo Ramirez.
This is very sad news that we're bringing to you this evening. We've heard from loved ones who've shared a little bit about this gentleman and his love for his daughter as well. This is heartbreaking for our community. Again, we're just getting these details, and we'll keep you updated as we learn more. Well, nearly 6 months after Hurricane Ian hit, another sign of recovery that we're tracking, this time on Pine Island, where the storm did so much damage to that community.
And we always are looking for that next step of recovery, that next sign of healing. And with every story of recovery, we also had some help from outside that accelerated that process. And we're so grateful for all that help. And that's where Fox 4 evening anchor Chris Earl is live now at the First Baptist Church in St. James City.
Yeah, where they finally got back inside to worship just 2 days ago. And Chris, this has been an unforgettable journey for that group.
Yeah, good evening. Definitely has been, Shari Nadine. And this parking lot here at First Baptist Church here in St. James City has served real roles over the past 6 months. And even today, even just now, we still have a FEMA Resource Center, which is still here about 100 feet from where we're standing. It's going to be here for this week. It'll be at the VFW post here in St. James City for next week. But for the month since Hurricane Ian, this lot, though, has done so much more. We've had 18-wheelers coming through, FEMA response trucks, people who are sleeping in their cars or just needing shelter, water, or first aid. But on Sunday morning, it was a great day for the church, as about 150 people worshiped inside First Baptist Church for the first Sunday since September 25th, 3 days before Hurricane Ian hit Southwest Florida. Pastor Larry Jinks told me on Sunday 5 feet of water filled the building, saying it was like filling up a building with mud and then shaking it all around. But he also said the help came soon after he put out the word on Facebook, and that was a challenge considering power was in and out on Pine Island, and you couldn't even get to Pine Island because the bridge was out for a few days.
Giving part, and I always get emotional when I talk about this, and I hope I don't now. I've been an emotional wreck for 5 months with many people. But the giving has, gosh, it has floored me.
And the help also included plenty of heavy machinery, power tools from one Fort Myers area tool shop that saw the need and answered it swiftly. That story is coming up at 6. But again, nearly 6 months later, we still see plenty of immediate need coming up, even just on our drive here in Pine Island. You see some of the boats that have been taken out of the canals and corralled away. You see some of the roof work being done. But like all throughout Southwest Florida, that need still remains as we mark nearly 6 months for next week since Hurricane Ian hit. Reporting live, though, in St. James City, Chris Earl, Fox 4 News.
The Pentagon says today it's speeding up its delivery of Abrams tanks to Ukraine. It will send a refurbished older model that can be ready faster because it's coming from the Army stock. Government leaders say the newer tanks that were originally going would have taken a year or two to build and ship. They say the older tanks will also be easier for Ukrainian forces to learn to use and maintain. The goal is to get them to Ukraine within 8 to 10 months. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says today the government is ready to take additional steps if needed to protect smaller banks following the recent bank collapses. But she says the situation is stabilizing and the U.S. banking system is sound. Over the last 10 days, federal regulators have guaranteed the deposits of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. There's also a new Federal Reserve program to make sure other banks can secure their money. The recent bank collapses are weighing on the Federal Reserve ahead of its decision tomorrow about what to do with interest rates. The question is whether the pressure on the banking industry is so great there's a risk of a larger financial crisis, and if the Fed should slow down or pause further rate hikes because of this.
The Fed has the tools to walk and chew gum at the same time. It can return the economy to price stability, however you might want to define that is up for debate, and it can stabilize financial markets. But it's not going to do so without causing growth to slow and unemployment to rise. And that's the unfortunate situation they find themselves in.
Despite the situation with the banks, many economists are expecting a quarter-point interest rate increase tomorrow because inflation is still high. The economist we talked with thinks the Fed is at or near its peak on interest rates, and that getting to the Fed's 2% inflation goal may not be a reality now because of the number of jobs that would have to be lost to get there.
So the market is going to do some of the work for the Fed. The important thing here is they just not grossly overshoot and create the conditions for a much deeper recession than the recession we're likely to have, which will likely start in the second half of the year.
Here's the bottom line on what interest rate hikes continue to mean for you. Even higher rates on credit cards, car loans, and home loans. If the quarter-point hike happens tomorrow, that would make the interest rate between 4.75 and 5%.
All right, we are keeping an eye on developing news as police are still asking you to avoid downtown Punta Gorda right now after a, quote, incident is unraveling there. They are setting up a media staging area, which usually hints that something bigger could be happening. Fox 4 is working to bring you more information on this developing story out of US 41.
Well, you are looking live now at Mar-a-Lago here in Florida, where really the world is watching and waiting tonight ahead of what could be the first indictment of a former United States president.
Yeah, Donald Trump announced over the weekend that he believes he will be arrested today on criminal charges. But so far, the Manhattan grand jury hearing, this case has not made a decision, but clearly we are watching this closely.
Of course, it is all connected to allegations that the former president made a hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels ahead of his presidential run in 2016. There's now questions about the source of the alleged payment and about whether he violated campaign laws if those allegations are actually true.
So yesterday, the grand jury heard from a legal advisor for former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen. Robert Costello's testimony lasted more than 2 hours. The grand jury deliberated today, but with no decision, they are set to reconvene tomorrow. The former president himself speaking out about these claims.
4 horrible, radical left Democrat investigations of your all-time favorite president, me, is just a continuation of the most disgusting witch hunt.
Now, right now, security is ramping up near the Manhattan courthouse as well as the Capitol ahead of possible protests.
So Fox 4, as we mentioned, we're following this case closely, and of course, we'll bring you any developments both on air and online at fox4now.com. Lauren.
In Southwest Florida, we have some changes on the way. Today's highs in Fort Myers capped out near 84 degrees. Tomorrow, we're in the upper 80s, and this is just the start of a big warm-up. We have your full 7-day forecast ahead on Fox 4 News at 5.
All right, something that Fox 4 at 5 has been following for you very closely. We now have a crew headed to the scene of an incident that is unfolding right now in downtown Punta Gorda. The Punta Gorda Police Department says not only officers, but also Charlotte County deputies are handling what they're calling an incident on US 41 and Tamiami Trail. This is north right near the intersection of East Olympia Avenue. Shari, we know that there will be a media staging area, which usually hints that something bigger is happening here.
Right, and you said it was an incident. So again, we're not exactly sure what this is, but what we do know is it is definitely impacting traffic. You can see that right here on your map. I was just checking with Fox 4 traffic anchor Lauren Petrelli, who tells us southbound 41, as you see here, all in red, and eastbound Olympia still looks pretty slow as well. Now, deputies and officers are telling us that the intersection is blocked off with traffic in both directions. We've got a crew on the way to the scene to bring you the latest updates. We are expecting, as Nadine just said, to hear from them in just a couple hours or within the next hour. And as those details come into our newsroom, we'll keep you updated as well. But again, deputies and officers are asking if you can avoid that downtown Punta Gorda area to go ahead and do so, even asking that you use I-75 as an alternative.
Also, Fox 4 has more information tonight about those teenagers who were arrested at the Naples Pier this weekend. Naples police say 3 teenagers actually jumped the chain link fence that's blocking off the Naples Pier on Friday. When officers approached them, police say one of the teenagers was detained, but 2 others ran away. They chased the teenagers, and while one of the officers was trying to stop the remaining one, that teenager, they say, pushed and kicked the officer, and the officer fell on his own arm. He had actually been taken to the hospital for evaluation. That teenager is now being charged with battery and resisting arrest. The other teenager who was arrested is now being charged with breaking rules and regulations. That third teenager was not arrested. Also, 3 Marco Island police officers are now suspended. The department says an administrative review revealed that Sergeant Mark Howder, along with Captain John Wallace and Reserve Officer Ed D'Alessandro, were disciplined after saying one of the sergeants participated in a February firearms qualification exercise.
Right, but the review found that he did not. All 3 agreed to forego a formal investigation, and they chose to accept disciplinary measures, including suspension without pay.
It's been 20 years since the start of the Iraq War, but for some of those who served at the beginning, the memories are still very vivid. Alex Miller talked with a former Army medic about why he says it's so important to tell his story now.
It's been 2 decades since American soldiers stepped foot on Iraqi soil to fight in the war on terror, to go on an ill-fated quest for weapons of mass destruction and topple Saddam Hussein. But for some of those who served there, 20 years feels like yesterday.
It's hard to get those kind of blinders off, you know? I call them my blood-tinted lenses, where I can't see anything but the horrendousness of human beings, and not so much the beauty that really does surround our lives.
Sergio Alfaro signed up for the Army in June 2000. At 17, he wasn't even old enough to register. His parents had to sign a consent form. He was looking for a path to medicine. He wasn't thinking about actually being sent off to war.
During that time, it's like, well, how would a war even begin? You know, everything was kind of seemingly at a stalemate. Like everybody had their pieces of, you know, prosperity and happiness, and it's like, how could that even become a reality?
But in the blink of an eye, it did. 2.5 years after America was attacked, almost at the end of his required service, Sergio is on that plane to Iraq as an Army medic. To this day, his memories are vivid of his battle buddies losing their lives, of other American soldiers acting in unthinkable ways.
It has to do with the dead Iraqi policemen, you know? At one point, some of the medical team I was working with in the trauma center decided to go to the back and actually practice a cricoidotomy on the cadaver. I mean, it's a face I'm going to see for the rest of my life, you know, and nobody could see it, especially as they were sticking a spatula down his throat and trying to get the tubes in and all this other stuff. I was just like, what is going on here? Like I wanted to tell them to stop, but I couldn't. I froze.
Alfaro reported the incident to a captain who made sure it wouldn't happen again. As he was experiencing trauma in real time, he was aware that back home, there were very mixed feelings about his service, his sacrifice, about why we were at war in Iraq. When he got home, he ignored that continued controversy, head down, barreling through the guilt of the encounter with the dead policeman, focused on his goals. Sergio earned a spot at Harvard Medical medical school, a lifelong dream for him. But some of his medical rotations took him right back to the desert, whether it was listening to patients at the VA or a group of doctors rushing to help a patient in the hospital.
It was like I was hearing people running again. I was like back there in Iraq, and I was just like back in the Humvee, and I was just trying to hold on to the chair that I was on and just trying not to get swept away with like all the different memories. I was like, I can do this, I can do this, I can get through this. This is, you know, there's gonna be hard parts, there's gonna be easy parts.
He dropped out after multiple medical leaves of absence for PTSD. His wounds from war had followed him home. With that decision, the future he imagined for himself, the very reason he went to war in the first place, died. Some days he wishes he never went.
I'll be honest, it's something I still grieve about to this day. You know, I always thought that being a doctor was the thing I was made for. I love science, I love medicine. That love has never gone away.
Sergio says he went to a dark place for a long time, isolating himself, not working, not leaving the house, just trying to keep himself alive. In Iraq, it was about surviving, not dying. At home, it turns out it was the same. He says his loved ones got him to a place where he can actually live.
They could see me to the core of who I am.
He tells his painful story so others will do the same, so that the number of soldiers lost because of the war in Iraq doesn't keep growing.
Maybe other people said like, oh yeah, he went to war, he's not the same. And I just hope you don't forget that the core of who they are is still there. And it's just buried.
And we are in spring break here in Southwest Florida, and it was a chilly day, but then it quickly warmed up as we bring in meteorologist Lauren Petrelli. A better warm-up is on its way.
Oh, we do have a very big warm-up. Looking gorgeous out there for everyone on spring break. I hope you got to enjoy outside. We started off chilly this morning, warmed up to a high of 84 over in Fort Myers, and temperatures are slowly cooling off right now. 81 right now in Arcadia, 81 as well over in Fort Myers, the same in Immokalee, 78 down in Naples. Clouds and radar really match up with the live look we just gave you, sweeping across nice and clear. Hardly a cloud in the sky, really. And high pressure is in place, and that's going to be the dominant weather factor for the next couple of days. Swinging across Virginia out to the Atlantic as we head into your Wednesday and Thursday. It's going to be Friday into Saturday. We do have our next cold front well to the north of us, but high pressure across the state going to block that front from reaching us, so we're not expecting any rainfall from this, and also we're really not expecting a cool down from that cold front. So we are sunny, dry, and hot as we head through the rest of your work week. Ahead of that cold front, dew points are also going to be climbing, so you will notice a big difference in the humidity, especially late work week into your weekend. That's also when you're really going to notice those hot temperatures. Tomorrow, we're forecasting our highs to bump up from where we saw in the low 80s for today to the upper 80s. That will continue as we wrap up your work week, and by the end of the weekend and into your next work week, those temperatures could possibly be in the low 90s. That's almost 10 degrees warmer compared to where we should be for this time of the year, with the average being 82 degrees. So with this sunny, dry, and hot weather, it's going to be ahead of us for the next couple of days. We have to keep in mind we're in the midst of our dry season. So when it comes to our fire danger risks or potential for brush fires, listen to any burn bans in place and make sure you're remaining vigilant. Tomorrow, all of Southwest Florida is going to be at a moderate risk for brush fires, so that's going to be a level 2, and we could see that go up, especially as we see breezier conditions move through Friday into Saturday. I know it is spring break. A lot of people want to get outside, so if you wanted to get out on the water, not a bad idea. No advisories with your marine forecast. Seas are going to be 2 feet or less, and you have a light chop on your seas tomorrow. So overnight lows dipping near 60 degrees tomorrow. We're going to see those highs near 88, 89 by Thursday. That's one of the days where we could see potential record-breaking heat. Friday, mostly sunny and humid with a high of 88. Friday into Saturday, staying really warm and windy. Saturday, we're looking at a high of 89, 90 by Sunday, and 90 as well as we head into your next work week.
Interest in women's health has spiked recently, but not much research money is being put toward issues that affect only women. New data shows just 1% of healthcare research is invested in women-specific conditions besides cancer, things like endometriosis, menopause, and polycystic ovarian syndrome.
These gaps that we see in research in healthcare are ultimately going to result in major health issues.
We're already seeing disparities in treatment that are largely preventable, and COVID made this even worse. One woman dies every 2 minutes from preventable causes related to pregnancy and childbirth. Experts say until women are made a priority, their health outcomes will continue to suffer.
For those women who are suffering from some of these more serious conditions, the results are tragic. They can't function day to day in some of the activities, whether it's activities of daily living, raising their family, or engaging in the community.
She believes bringing more attention to women's health will bring positive change.
You know, the good news is you're starting to see more investment in the earlier stages and an investment in these scientific targets. Just as in oncology research, more and more knowledge is accumulating, more and more knowledge is being shared.
She says new treatments for certain conditions are in the works, but it will be some time before they're out on the market. In the meantime, she says the more we talk about women's health, the more attention it will get. A medication used to treat late-stage prostate cancer is in short supply. It's called Pluvicto, and it can help patients live longer. Last spring, the drug maker Novartis had to stop production for about a month at plants in New Jersey and Italy over quality concerns. Since then, the company has had trouble meeting demand. Many patients in the U.S. have had to reschedule doses of the drug because of the supply issue.
Well, Fox 4 is continuing to bring you the latest updates about a developing situation in Charlotte County.
Yeah, so Charlotte County deputies now say this scene is contained, but traffic is seriously backed up. So coming up on Fox 4 News at 6, what we know what the sheriff's office is saying about this still very active and fluid situation that we've been watching out for you at 5. We'll watch out for you again at 6. We'll see you then.
A car meetup with plans to street race turns into a shooting, leaving an elderly couple critically hurt. The suspect now behind bars.
It's a car club that thinks they can take over the intersections, the streets.
Plus, the suspect in a Golden Gate murder is set to be in court today, but refused to come before the judge. What we know about this case. And
our enemies are desperate to stop us.
At the nation's capital, barricades in place and security is ramping up, while in Mar-a-Lago, signs of support for President Trump, all as we wait for a possible indictment and arrest of the former president. Fox 4 News at 6 starts right now.
Live from Fox 4, this is breaking news.
And we begin Fox 4 News at 6 following breaking news out of Punta Gorda. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Nadine Yanis.
And I'm Shari Armstrong. Just after 4 o'clock, the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office sent out an alert warning people to just stay away from an active scene at Olympia Avenue and US 41 North.
And you can see by this map, roads are blocked off. Traffic is a mess. We do have a crew on the way to the scene. We had been watching this throughout Fox 4 News at 5. Right at the end of Fox 4 News at 5, we got the update that deputies say the scene is now contained, but traffic here is congested.
And that is why they're asking you to avoid the downtown area just until further notice. They are advising that you use I-75 to travel through the city. We will bring you more details as they develop. Well, also breaking at this hour, Fox 4 now confirming a body pulled out of the river this afternoon is the boater who went missing on Sunday. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission confirming this just about a half an hour ago.
Yeah, really heartbreaking because that family came in town to search for that boater. Authorities now say 40-year-old Pedro Pablo Ramirez was fishing with his stepfather when their boat capsized on Sunday. The stepfather was rescued, was found and taken to the hospital. He has since been released from the hospital, but as I mentioned, the family was searching for the boater, and FWC says it is now confirmed they found the body of Pedro Pablo Ramirez. Of course, we'll stay on top of it as FWC is still investigating.
A lot of news going on this afternoon, including this. The Lee County Sheriff's Office says they have arrested a teen they say shot at an elderly couple as they drove through a Lehigh Acres intersection over the weekend.
Now tonight, Sheriff Carmine Marcino says that shooting happened as cars surrounded this elderly couple's truck, and this is the suspect now in jail tonight. 17-year-old Armando Cruz now facing 11 charges, including attempted murder, aggravated battery, aggravated rioting. And there are also 2 other suspects now behind bars for aggravated rioting as well.
And as you mentioned, Nadine, he is 17. That is why Fox 4's Caitlin Knapp is live at the Juvenile Justice Center this evening. And Caitlin, talk to us more about this street racing. I know the sheriff says he's already making changes in response to that and, of course, to the shooting.
That's exactly right. Sheriff Carmine Marcino says that there are a lot of car clubs in Lee County and mostly peaceful, but this particular group, he says that they're simply causing mayhem. That's why Sheriff Carmine Marcino is adding deputies to a street racing task force. And he told me today he hopes to get a handle on this problem.
I just don't know how you can sleep at night knowing that you shot at a 74 and a 70-year-old.
The Sunday morning shooting of an elderly couple, leaving their grandson, Cody Langford, angry, but relieved tonight, following the arrest of 17-year-old Armando Cruz. Sheriff Carmine Marcino says the couple drove to this intersection at Homestead Road and Milwaukee Boulevard in Lehigh Acres when members of a car club blocked their truck.
A mob broke away from the larger group and surrounded the victim's truck and boat and began to hit, punch, and kick the vehicle.
Seconds later, the sheriff says Cruz shot the couple and took off. Video of the scene and other evidence led to Cruz's arrest on Monday in Cape Coral.
There's a note that we investigate, and that note puts our suspect in the place where we have established probable cause for his arrest.
Video from the sheriff's office shows the car club doing donuts at this intersection earlier that morning and other areas in Lee County. That's why Marcino says he's increasing law enforcement's presence.
We implemented this task force, and we are tripling the number of deputies initially assigned to it.
A move people I spoke to on Monday said must happen.
We just need more police coverage, bottom line.
Marcino says he's focused on Lehigh following the shooting, but the sheriff's office addresses similar calls throughout Lee County.
We routinely increase the number of deputies on the roads when we have reason to believe these car clubs are meeting.
A response Langford's grateful for and says after all that happened,
I'm fortunate enough to have, honestly, the toughest grandpa in America.
Langford says his grandmother is out of the hospital and his grandfather is still in the hospital recovering. Now, as far as the suspect, Cruz is the only one arrested. The sheriff says they made 2 more arrests this morning. Those 2 have been charged with aggravated rioting, and the sheriff says he plans on making more arrests. Reporting live at the Juvenile Justice Center, Caitlin Knapp, Fox 4.
Caitlin, thank you so much. And the sheriff says Cruz is no stranger to law enforcement. He was actually arrested 8 months ago, charged with beating an elderly wheelchair-bound man. We first reported this back in July of last year. The sheriff's office first started investigating after seeing this video of that attack at Farmer Jack's Market. One of the teens in the video approached the elderly man, deputies tell us, and punched him. Another threw a trash can. The teens claimed the man verbally harassed them prior. They were charged with battery of a disabled man, and because this is a juvenile case, no other information can be released about this incident.
Well, new since Fox 4 News at 5, we are now learning more about a letter that Collier County investigators now say plays a significant role in a 71-year-old Golden Gate Estates man who was arrested over the weekend for killing his wife.
Fox 4's Brianna Brownlee learned that as she heard medical reasons and no lawyer are why Racine Raphael was not in a Collier County courtroom for his first appearance today.
While we did not get to see Racine Raphael in court documents did reveal a letter giving details and insight on a family fight that led up to the violent killing of his wife. At a family function, Collier County investigators say Racine and his son fought. Days later, his wife was found dead. At the scene, detectives say they found a letter Racine had written to his son accusing him of being violent and saying because of that behavior, the son would never see him or his mother again, including on his wedding day. Detectives say she was found dead in the laundry room, and Racine later admitted to hitting her in the head multiple times with the type of tire iron called a breaker bar. Then they say he also said he'll step and kick her. A coroner's report says she died from blunt force trauma to the head. The judge did not set bond for Raphael, and of course this is developing. As soon as we learn more, we'll update you. From the Collier County Courthouse, Brianna Brownlee, Fox 4.
Well, a new police report from the Fort Myers Police Department now says a woman's boyfriend shot and badly hurt her and then killed another man at a Fort Myers Portofino Cove apartment complex this weekend. So Fox 4 brought this to you as breaking news Sunday. The deadly shooting happened around 3:30 that morning. Police say the suspect was driving a stolen truck. It was found later with no one inside. And as of tonight, that suspect is still not in custody, they say.
Well, switching now to Hurricane Ian recovery efforts, and we want to keep you updated on cleanup for areas that still need it. The city of Punta Gorda is working with the Florida Department of Emergency Management, and they're working to get debris out of the water. That's what you're seeing here. That's why you might notice barges at the boat ramp at Ponce de Leon Park. The partnership started last week, and they tell us they'll keep going until that job is complete. Also, Lee County commissioners meeting to talk about landscape changes on Fort Myers Beach. Commissioners actually finalized a contract to upgrade landscaping at the town's entrance. A new enlarged roundabout is also in the works to help with traffic. Leaders discussed pedestrian safety, including brighter lights and traffic signal upgrades. The project's planned for San Carlos Boulevard, starting at North Crescent Street and running north of Hurricane Pass Bridge.
Well, making rebuilding easier on Sanibel, there was a new rule put on place today that now allows people on Sanibel to work on construction projects for longer hours. Now, previously, you could only work from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., but today the council asked the city manager to sign an executive order extending that by 2 hours. So now folks can work on their homes and businesses until 7 p.m. Daylight savings time works for this. We also spoke to people living on the island. They say they're willing to live with the noise if that means rebuilding happens faster.
It's better for us too because easy on and easy off. As you can see, the toll booths, there's only one in and out, and with being able to get the trucks from here to a landfill or something like that, it's a distance. So the earlier we can stay and the later we can stay, it helps us.
Now, City Council also talked about a possible rental ordinance to give people who live on the island first choice on repaired or reconstructed housing units that are managed by the city. No decision was made yet, but there will be a first hearing scheduled for April 12th if you want to weigh in.
But a decision was made here. Today's City Council meeting on Sanibel also led to a new mayor. Former Vice Mayor Richard Johnson is now the acting mayor. Johnson took his oath of office, and he replaces former Mayor Holly Smith. A little bit of a switch here. She was also reelected earlier this month, and she will still serve on the council. Councilman Mike Miller was elected as vice mayor. He's served on the council since March of 2021.
Well, New York City is now ramping up security ahead of a possible indictment against former President Donald Trump, which really could come any moment now.
Any moment now. Our Madeline Rivera reports Manhattan's district's attorney is addressing criticism about this case.
Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg firing back at critics who say his investigation into former President Donald Trump is politically motivated. His office releasing a statement Tuesday writing, quote, "We will not be intimidated by attempts to undermine the justice process, nor will we let baseless accusations deter us from fairly applying the law." A grand jury is weighing whether to indict Trump on charges related to alleged hush money payments made to adult film star Stormy Daniels, and is expected to hear from one of its final witnesses Wednesday. This week, top House Republicans sent a letter to Bragg demanding he hand over documents related to the case. They're also asking him to testify before Congress.
I think in your heart of hearts, you know, too, that you think this is just political. And I think that's what the rest of the country thinks, and we're kind of tired of that.
On Tuesday, protesters gathered outside of a Manhattan courthouse. If the grand jury votes to indict, law enforcement sources tell Fox News an arraignment would not be expected until days later. Monday night on his Truth Social platform, former President Trump once again denied any wrongdoing.
Whether it's the Mar-a-Lago raid or the Unselect Committee hoax, the perfect Georgia phone call, it was absolutely perfect, or the Stormy Horseface Daniels extortion plot, they're all sick. And it's fake news.
Mr. Trump would be the first former president to be indicted on a criminal charge. In New York, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
All right, we are continuing to follow breaking news out of the Charlotte County, where there's been an incident really unfolding for the last hour and a half here in downtown Punta Gorda. Well, we just got an update from the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office saying the scene is secured and a suspect is safely in custody, Shari.
But they are asking you to still avoid that area. This is in the area of Olympia Avenue and US 41 in downtown Punta Gorda. This is an ongoing investigation, so this is impacting traffic in that area, and deputies are asking that you use an alternative route if possible.
Yeah, be sure to stick with us here on Fox 4 as this continues to develop, because that update came in literally 8 minutes ago. We'll see you after the break.
In Southwest Florida, it was chilly this morning with temperatures ranging from the mid-40s to the low 50s. I hope you enjoyed it because we have a big warm-up on the way. We'll talk more about that on Fox 4 News at 6 in just a few minutes.
And I'm Chris. We're live in St. James City on Pine Island, just outside of First Baptist Church. And we'll go through not just the work, but also the help that came from off of the island. Some heavy machinery, real power tools that helped the church open back up on Sunday for the first time since Ian hits.
This is a gorgeous live view that we are bringing to you here on Fox 4 News at 6. This is a live look at Tarpon Lodge in Bokeria, and it is a gorgeous afternoon as you see a little bit of a breeze and you see the sun in the distance there. I love it.
The boats on the water too,
Yes.
Shari. Absolutely gorgeous. But what we got to talk about is just how many seasons we're going to feel this week in Southwest Florida. Starting the week a little bit cooler, but as we bring in Lauren Petrelli, it is going to warm up by the end of this week. Is that right?
Yeah, at least 2 seasons, possibly even 3, depending on how warm we wrap up your work week. We could see temperatures in the low 90s by about Sunday. So let's start with this morning where it was a little chilly out there. Temperatures were in the mid 40s to the low 50s. So these overnight lows were very chilly. It's going to be very comfortable this evening, but not quite as chilly. So right now temperatures under those clear skies, which we just gave you that live look outside, going to be in the upper 70s. As we head into the overnight hours, we will slowly cool off by 11, going to be in the upper 60s. Overnight lows falling closer to about 60 degrees though. Clouds and radar sweeping across nice and clear. So if you do have any outdoor plans, like that boater we just saw over at the Tarpon Lodge, no rain to slow you down. In fact, we really don't see any rain for the foreseeable future. That is because we have high pressure in place right now that's going to swing out to the Atlantic as we head into tomorrow and Thursday. And with high pressure in place for the next couple of days, this cold front that approaches us by Friday, the high pressure really blocks it, keeping it well to the north of us. So that means we are dry and hot the next several days. Ahead of the front, we will notice our humidity slowly creep up. So not only are we getting hotter, but you're going to notice the mugginess kind of increase as well. Speaking of the heat, here's what I'm talking about. So for today, we saw our highs cap out in the low to mid 80s. By tomorrow, we're forecasting a high closer to about 90 degrees with temperatures remaining in the upper 80s for the next several days. Forecasting a high of 91 by Sunday, low 90s continue into your next work week. So by the weekend, we are almost 8 to 10 degrees warmer than where we should be for this time of the year, with the average high being 82 degrees over in Fort Myers. So a couple of things to keep in mind with that front approaching us Friday into Saturday. We'll see breezier conditions pick up. We'll also have dry conditions. Temperatures will be in the upper 80s, near 90 degrees. So we have to remain vigilant about the fact that we are still in our dry season and brush fires are still going to be a possibility. So for tomorrow, all of Southwest Florida is going to be at a moderate risk for brush fires. Make sure you're listening to any burn bans in place and keep your eye on the fire danger index for the next couple of days, as we could see this become even more elevated. I do know it's spring break and a lot of people probably do want to get outside, maybe enjoy a nice day out on the boat. Not a bad idea tomorrow. No advisories with your Inland Marine boating forecast. The winds starting off out of the east, switching out of the southwest up to 10 knots, seas 2 feet or less. A light chop on your inland waters. Tonight, as I mentioned, going to be a cool night. Temperatures near 60 degrees. By tomorrow, we're forecasting highs under mostly sunny skies to be near 88 degrees. 89 by Thursday. That's one of the days where we could see record-breaking heat. A high of 88 with humidity really increasing on Friday. Windy conditions do move in on Saturday. Sunday into Monday, we're looking at temperatures even hotter, near 90 degrees.
Thank you, Lauren. Still to come here on Fox 4 News at 6. A bill moving through the state legislature is causing some controversy nationwide over a provision that would prevent young girls from talking about their periods.
Yeah, we are talking about House Bill 1069. It limits human sexuality instruction to students in the 6th grade and older. Stephanie Susskind with our Scripps station, WPTV in West Palm Beach, explains further.
If little girls experience their menstrual cycle in 5th grade or 4th grade, will that prohibit conversations from them since they are in a grade lower than 6th grade?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It would.
That's the exchange that sparked controversy during a committee hearing as former teacher and Miami-Dade Representative Ashley Gant questioned Bill 1069 sponsor Representative Stan McClain about the language that says, quote, instruction in human sexuality may only occur in grades 6 through 12. McClain went on to say penalizing teachers for having those discussions is not the intent of the bill.
For the first time in a while, I was appalled. I was really upset that the bill sponsor so quickly answered yes.
Annie Filkowski with Planned Parenthood says this legislation could have harmful impacts on young girls.
It's critical for young people to be informed about their bodies and to not feel shame when it comes to menstruating, when it comes to knowing their body parts, and especially when it comes to being able to go to your teacher or the school nurse if something comes up. and you need support.
We believe that that's the appropriate age to have this type of instruction take place.
While McLean said he was open to future tweaks.
Are you amenable to amendments that will put in place the ability for little girls to still have that conversation when appropriate, if that does occur?
I would be. I would be amenable to having a conversation about it as in context with what we're trying to achieve in the bill.
The bill moved forward out of this committee as is.
That was Stephanie Sussick reporting. 2 deadly shootings in Miami Beach leads to a curfew and a state of emergency.
But now, just days later, city leaders vote not to extend the curfew. We'll explain why when Fox 4 News at 6 continues. We'll also have a live look from breaking news coming up next. All right, 6:24 on this Tuesday afternoon. We are taking you live for the first time. Our crew just got to the scene in downtown Punta Gorda, where there has been an active incident, is all we know, that has really been clogging up downtown since the beginning of the 5 o'clock hour here. We've been tracking this for you for the last hour and a half. We do now know, Shari, that a suspect is in custody. The scene is contained, but as you can see, a lot of law enforcement, even an armored vehicle there in downtown Punta Gorda.
So the update here too is that traffic again is flowing in this particular area that you're seeing, which is northbound 41. Again, for a while, this whole area was shut down as police and deputies arrived on scene. So we're seeing a little progress in this area. However, we are waiting to hear from law enforcement as they give us an update as to what is actually happening in this situation, because Nadine, as you mentioned, they've only said that this is an incident at this hour, of course, impacting traffic at a very busy time of the day.
We are told that there will be a media briefing at some point. Our Fox 4's Colton Chavez and his photojournalists are on the scene here. As you can see, he is expected to give us a live report in a moment. Again, downtown Punta Gorda, scene clearly active. This investigation still ongoing. A suspect, though, is now in custody.
Well, after violence in Miami Beach over the weekend, the city hopes to keep the peace for the rest of that spring break season.
But as Carlos Suarez reports, in the wake of now 2 deadly shootings, today the city council chose not to impose a city curfew for this reason. Take a look why.
Miami Beach commissioners voted not to impose another curfew this upcoming weekend after last weekend's violence.
We have a real problem with the number of people that are coming and the guns that are coming.
The city manager issued a state of emergency and a midnight curfew on Sunday after 2 separate deadly shootings and, quote, excessively large and unruly crowds flooded the city.
Declarations themselves are hugely impactful to those of us who run businesses here. My clientele, primarily an international crowd, I'm going to have to give them a refund. And it hurts.
The commission debated extending the curfew this weekend.
These aren't spring breakers, they're lawbreakers who don't respect police, they don't respect law, they don't respect innocent lives. And I need to follow the recommendation of our law enforcement when they tell me that they need this emergency order to protect our city.
This whole notion of, we got to do something. We did this crap during COVID, right? I mean, let's be real. If it's not going to make a difference, don't punish the businesses that are going to be affected by this and their employees.
Some commissioners argued that it's usually the 3rd weekend of spring break that sees the most violence and that it was unfair to punish the crowds this weekend. In the end, they voted to have liquor stores close at 6 p.m. The city is also preparing to deal with crowds from 2 major music festivals this weekend. Speaking to vacation goers, some admitted that they were out past curfew.
I make sure that my surroundings are safe. I'm with a friend at least, a best friend, a close friend, and my phone is always charged.
But you broke curfew.
I didn't know there was a curfew.
Some tourists said they felt safe in Miami Beach despite the recent shootings.
I think that I feel safer here than in my country, so I'm not that worried. Of course that later in the night we are going to the hotel, not staying in the street, but we don't feel unsafe here.
I think if you play it safe and you just do what you're supposed to do and just be mindful of your area around you, you're fine.
And to put this into perspective for you, the city of Miami Beach imposed a midnight curfew last year after 2 spring break shootings.
And the year before that, there was also a curfew during spring break. Well, still to come here on Fox 4 News at 6.
A bill with broad bipartisan support is making progress at the State House, how it could impact your children in the classroom.
Also, a terrifying moment caught on camera as local police officer gets hit by a car. So we'll have that story coming up. Well, it was a terrifying moment caught on camera as a local police officer gets hit by a car during a call. How this officer is doing tonight.
And this church in St. James City is finally back open as of Sunday for services inside after being outside. We'll get a look on how they got a little help from so many new friends.
Live from Southwest Florida, you're watching Fox 4 News at 6.
But we begin this half hour in Tallahassee because this is a goal of the governor's and it has backing of key Republicans. But unlike a lot of the bills that we've been talking about this legislative session, this one has broad bipartisan support. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm Nadine Yanis.
And I'm Sherry Armstrong. Capitol reporter Forrest Saunders tells us about the Teachers' Bill of Rights as it continues to make steady progress, like you said, in the legislature.
Now, this isn't one of the bills we've talked a lot about this session, but it's one of the big goals that DeSantis was touting in his pre-session tour of the state, listing off all of his priorities for 2023. And the Teachers' Bill of Rights seems to have the support of both Republicans and Democrats. It was back in January, Governor Ron DeSantis announced his plan for a Teachers' Bill of Rights.
We've worked really hard since I've been governor to put an emphasis on education really across the board.
Fast forward a few months and the idea keeps making steady progress in the Senate.
By your vote, so SB 244 is reported favorably.
Clearing its second of three committees Tuesday, again unanimously. The bill has a whole bunch of provisions, but perhaps its most widely supported programs and incentives to bring more into teaching to find a growing shortage.
The tools provided in this bill create a pipeline into teaching that is needed to make sure our school district and our children have what they deserve.
The bill sponsor highlighted a few of those tools, like easing teaching requirements for some, scholarship opportunities, and an apprenticeship program, which former teachers like the sound of.
That mentor that I had, who was amazing, really got me through those years and got me over that quote unquote hump of the first 2 years of just not knowing where I was and what I was doing.
Then there's the actual Teachers' Bill of Rights, a list including protections for educators following state law, but in violation of district policy, a shield for teachers trying to control a rowdy classroom, plus a way for teachers to report violations of their rights to the state ed department.
I'll tell you my negative before I tell you my positive.
Some Democrats did have a few concerns that the language is too broad.
And I'm not sure what else we're capturing when we say violation of a student, parent, or teacher's rights in such a broad sense.
But the good seem to outweigh any potential bad as the bill now marches on to its third and final Senate committee before reaching the floor. Now, over in the House, there is at least one bill with some similar provisions in it. It could mean that we'll see some changes, as one bill will likely be folded into the other as the legislative session continues. But with wide support and the governor on board, it's a pretty safe bet that at least something will reach his desk before the end of this year's legislative session. That's the latest out here at the Capitol. I'm Forrest Saunders reporting.
Forrest, thank you. Some tears and cheers today as survivors from across the state rallied in Tallahassee as well, this time for criminal justice reform and help for crime victims.
We want change. When do we want it? Now.
About 400 people filled the Capitol Rotunda seeking approval of several bills that have some bipartisan support this year. The legislation would better inform families of homicide victims about any criminal investigation and ensure they have access to leave from work for a funeral or for court proceedings. There are also improvements to Florida's probation system as well, plus record sealing for those with low-level offenses to make it easier for them to find a job.
It's resources, it's services, it's employment, it's housing, it's youth programs. It's investing in the things that we know that keep us safe.
Now, the group says making some of those investments would address the root causes of crime and break the cycle of repeat offenses. At least one of the policies is getting traction in the House this year, but it's unclear if any will have the backing to get to the governor's desk.
All right, 6:36 now. We want to get right back out to breaking news out of Punta Gorda that we've been tracking now for the last hour and a half. We know that there was an incident that happened, a suspect arrested, but beyond that, we're about to get an update right now.
That's right, so we want to get right out to Fox 4's Colton Chavez. He is live at the scene. Colton, we know from just a few hours ago that this was an incident, but we didn't have a lot of details. What can you tell us at this time?
Yeah, that's right. Isolated incident only involving one suspect. But to give you more information, I have Public Information Officer Chris Hall right here to my left. He's with the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office. Chris, we reported that there was a single individual involved, but kind of walk me through what led to police getting involved with this entire incident.
Sure. So we received a call from Collier County deputies advising that a criminal suspect of an investigation of their own may be in the area here. Our deputies were able to observe that suspect and attempted a traffic stop, at which point the suspect fled the traffic stop a very short distance and was kind of cornered into a parking lot there. We had reason to believe the suspect was armed, so a standoff ensued there, which lasted approximately 2 hours. But I am happy to report that it has been resolved now. The suspect is in custody and was transported to a medical facility with only a minor injury.
Did we find any weapons in the suspect's vehicle after we detained him?
I do not have that information just yet. As we said, it just resolved a few moments ago, so more information to follow, I'm sure.
Did we get any information on what possible charges or crimes that Collier County was looking into involving this individual?
I don't have that information yet. You would have to ask Collier County, but I'm sure that they can give you that.
All right, thank you very much, Chris Hall. I appreciate it. So there you heard it right now. So it is an isolated incident. Right now, I believe, Chris, you had said that the road is opening back up. It looks like traffic is starting to flow again. Is that correct?
That's correct. It appears that the roads are reopened and traffic seems to have kind of cleared already, but just expect some delays still.
Right. So expect a few delays, but for right now, this is all the information we have. It is an ongoing investigation. So Shari, Nadine, we're going to go ahead and toss it back to you in the studio, and we'll continue to update you both on air and online at fox4now.com.
Colton, thank you for that update. Well, from Charlotte County, we want to take you to the north in Sarasota, where a police officer is recovering today after getting hit by a car during a call last night. And we want to warn you, this video is graphic. Stay down. In the video, you can see the officer get hit head on. Police say they were investigating a lead on a stolen car when they learned a car that matched the suspect's was in Key. As officers tried to stop the suspect, the car drove past a parked patrol car and hit the officer, flipping him over. The officer was taken to the hospital and is now home. That's the good news here. He is expected to recover. The suspect's car was later found with no one inside. Investigators are still searching for that suspect.
Well, we have brought you a lot of news over the last hour and a half, a lot of developing news and breaking news, but also news of hope and healing in St. James City, because there's a church there, First Baptist Church. They were able to get back inside for worship for the first time this past weekend.
And it was a lot of work. We are also seeing how so many others led this effort to get the tools, the power tools, where they were needed and quickly. Fox 4 anchor Chris Earl went to the service on Sunday morning. The first one there, Chris, since 3 days before Ian hit, and I'm sure plenty of emotions could be felt.
Yes, emotions and definitely gratitude. Lots and lots of gratitude. I've been stressing this for the past 6 months. There really are no style points anywhere here in Southwest Florida when it comes to hurricane recovery. Each project, each rebuild has its own characteristics, its own time frame, and really its own purpose. That includes what we saw here in St. James City. Pastor Larry Jinks with First Baptist Church has been part of the fabric here for the past 12 years. On Sunday, he took us through the journey to get back inside. From holding worship in the parking lot where I'm standing to the pavilion, especially as water from Ian filled up 5 feet inside of the church, and the church from the outside still showing some of the scars from Hurricane Ian. But help came in, including from one tool shop about 20 miles east of here, the Northern Tool and Equipment at Alico and 75, where manager Tom Keister knew his store could provide immediate help where it would be most welcome.
How fast can I get there to help? That was the main focus that we had. How fast can we get product out there to help them? Generators to pressure washers to pumps, everything you need to clean it up.
I heard from people all over the country that were following our story, and he said, can you use 100 chairs? I said, I can, but I've got no way to come get them. He said, I got a young couple that's going to load them up in a U-Haul and drive them down to you. So those chairs.
And those are all those nice chairs that are inside.
Yeah, and they were in a sanctuary in Pennsylvania for 25 years, and you saw how nice those chairs are. They gave them to us.
And when it comes to a house of worship, anyone who is in charge of it will always stress it's never about the physical building, but it's always about the people, the mission, so critical in recovery. And coming up tonight on Fox 4 News at 10, I'm finishing up exactly how the people here at First Baptist Church got through these 6 months, because it was very trying, from being in the pavilion, out in the elements, to being in the parking lot. We had people who were sleeping here because they had nowhere else to go. And it's one of these stories where this is thousands of these stories all throughout Southwest Florida. And they all have their own pace, they all have their own motivation, but they all have one connecting thread, that common goal for recovery. and being made back whole from before what happened on September 28th of last year when Hurricane Ian hit. Reporting live in St. James City, Chris Earl, Fox 4 News.
And Chris, I can't help but notice the clear skies behind you today. Fort Myers saw a high of 84 degrees, by the way. Tomorrow, warming up even more with a high close to 88. We'll talk more about this warming trend and when we possibly could see record-breaking heat. That's ahead on Fox 4 News at 6.
It's 6:45 on a Tuesday evening, which means if you're looking to make some dinner plans somewhere in Southwest Florida, this could be a good spot for you. This is a live look from our Bayfront in camera in Naples, where it is a gorgeous afternoon. But you did feel a little bit of a difference this morning.
That's what I was going to say, Shari. Really, is there any bad spot in Southwest Florida to go have dinner right now around this time of day? But you're right. Those temperatures are going to start dropping again. So let's go ahead and bring in meteorologist Lauren Petrelli.
Ladies, I'm over here ready to tell Siri, hey, Siri, can you make me reservations at Sales or something? Because that is going to be, yes. Oh, I got you. Don't worry. That would be the best spot to be for tonight, or really just dining outside anywhere going to be a great spot. That is because temperatures right now in the mid-70s under clear skies, and they will continue to be clear, dry, and eventually those temperatures dropping into the overnight hours into the low 60s. Clouds and radar really matching up with that gorgeous live look as you face inland over in the Naples area. We're not tracking really much of anything, not even clouds on clouds and radar. As you take a zoomed out look, the reason why we are so dry and sunny for today, high pressure is in place. As we move through today into tomorrow and also your Thursday, that high pressure going to swing out to the Atlantic, become the dominant weather factor for the remainder of your work week. And even as Friday approaches, this next cold front should get closer to us, but that high pressure is going to block it, keeping the front and also all of the potential rainfall well to the north of us. That's Friday into Saturday. And we even show you with this is the GFS in-house model that we have right here. All of the rainfall staying well to the north, not just really of us, but almost of the entire state. Orlando picking up less than 1/10 of an inch, and Fort Myers, it shows as we race through those models, not picking up much of anything. So for the next couple of days, we are dry and very sunny. So today, our highs topped out in the low to mid 80s. By tomorrow, we're in the upper 80s near 90 degrees as we wrap up your work week. By the end of the weekend, low 90s, with low 90s continuing into the beginning of your work week. This is well above our average high of 82 degrees, which is where we should be for this time of the year. So as we head into the overnight hours, we will still be comfortable, not quite as chilly as what we have seen the past couple of nights, and of course early mornings. I know not all of us are on spring break, so if you are taking the kiddos to school, maybe the bus stop, they might need a light jacket still tomorrow, especially with an overnight low of 54 in Arcadia, 55 Punta Gorda, 60 over in Fort Myers, 60 as well over in Naples. By the afternoon, they won't need the jacket, as tomorrow will be significantly warmer compared to not just today, but really yesterday as well. We're forecasting a high of 88 in Arcadia, the same in Fort Myers, 87 Immokalee, 84 Clewiston, and 85 over in Naples. If you wanted to cool down and get out on the boat tomorrow, not a bad idea. We have no advisories with your Inland Marine boating forecast, seas 2 feet or less, and a light chop on your inland waters. So that big warm up that we were talking about is reflected in your 7-day forecast. So for tomorrow, a high of 88, overnight lows waking up Thursday morning in the low 60s, so still very comfortable. Thursday will be sunny and hot with a high of 89. We could potentially see record-breaking heat that day. Friday, we are going to see the breeze and also the humidity pick up a little bit more with a high of 88. It will be windy and sunny on Saturday with a high of 89, so that's one of the days we could see record-breaking heat, and that heat follows into your Sunday and the beginning of your next work week.
New guidelines recommend doctors ask patients undergoing anesthesia about their cannabis use. Coming up in today's Your Healthy Family, why it's important to be honest, especially if you're having surgery. Anytime you go to the doctor, whether it's for a regular checkup or because you're hurt or sick, it's important to be honest about your lifestyle and habits, especially if you're having surgery. The American Society of Regional Anesthesia and Pain Medicine recently published guidelines recommending doctors ask patients undergoing anesthesia about their cannabis use, how much they use it, how they use it, and how often. In today's Your Healthy Family, I'm explaining why.
Talking with patients before surgery about the types of drugs they use has always been common practice, particularly when it comes to marijuana. And now that cannabis is legal in many parts of our country and marijuana use is more common, those conversations are even more important.
I've always told people that I don't really care what it is that they use. What I care about is taking good care of them.
Dr. Jennifer Coleman is an anesthesiologist in Colorado, where marijuana is legal. She says talking to patients about their marijuana use before surgery is critical because heavy users may need more anesthesia during their procedure to keep them asleep. She also says marijuana users may have a tougher time with pain management after surgery. Dr. Coleman says for many people across the country, there's a stigma around discussing drug use. And some worry there could be legal ramifications if they tell their doctor they use marijuana.
We're not going to turn people in to the cops. That's not our job. Our job is to be the best doctor that we can for that one person at that one time.
She says in the future, there could be guidelines for marijuana use before you have surgery, like cutting back. But for now, she says to be open with your doctor and not change your habits without asking him or her first.
There is not quite enough evidence yet to tell people to stop cold turkey or to taper. And there's some conflicting reports whether it works, whether it needs to be 7 days, whether it needs to be 14 days. So we need more research on that. It'll really depend on the person and on their coexisting conditions.
Now, Dr. Coleman says a good doctor will never shame you for your habits. So again, just be honest. For Your Healthy Family, I'm Lisa Greenberg. And for more health stories, head to fox4now.com/yourhealthyfamily.
And before we wrap it up here in Fox 4 News at 6, we want to continue to keep you updated on a scene that we've been keeping track of since Fox 4 News at 5. This is a live look at US 41. This is the northbound lane in Punta Gorda, where we learned that a suspect was actually detained in this area. Even though this is in Charlotte County, it actually is tied to Collier County.
Yeah, Fox 4 News around 6:30, we were the only ones who were able to speak to the Charlotte County Public Information Officer, who told us that they were helping out another case out of Collier County, went to pull over this suspect. That suspect then fled the traffic stop, and then it turned into a standoff because they were unsure if that suspect had any weapons in the car. Thankfully, that suspect was arrested, they say. No word if there were any weapons in there, but we do know the entire situation is now resolved. The investigation, though, clearly still underway in downtown Punta Gorda. So if you're in the area, avoid it. We'll continue to follow this here on Fox 4 News.
Good news here, though. Traffic seems to be flowing once again for the most part. We'll see you soon.
car meetup with plans to street race turns into a shooting, leaving an elderly couple critically hurt. The suspect now behind bars.
It's a car club that thinks they can take over the intersections, the streets.
Plus, the suspect in a Golden Gate murder is set to be in court today, but refused to come before the judge. What we know about this case. And
our enemies are desperate to stop us.
At the nation's capital, barricades in place and security is ramping up, while in Mar-a-Lago, signs of support for President Trump, all as we wait for a possible indictment and arrest of the former president.
Fox 4 News at 6 starts right now.
Live from Fox 4.